Hello and welcome to yet another conversation around sustainability, a key aspect going forward for us as humanity, as planet Earth, and more importantly, as India. And very clearly for us as a nation, the policy is you know directed very clearly that we have to achieve growth, but it has to be green growth. So it has to be sustainability hand in hand with our climate change goals and our commitments as a nation to humanity and to the world, and how is it that we can go about achieving it. Joining us today is a very elite group as part of the Sustainability 100 Plus Dialogues, which is in partnership with AB and Bev. And at the outset, I want to thank AB and Bev for being very able partners. And they, as a company, themselves have led from the front as far as working on this field is concerned. So I have Ashish Palta, who is the Vice President Sales of AB and Bev, joining us here. Along with that, we've been going pan India. We've talked about all India, but state by state in terms of how they've been able to achieve these goals. So the spotlight is turned towards the state of Maharashtra this time around, a state that was also awarded for some of its achievements under sustainability and climate change guidelines in 2019. Where is the state today? One of the most industrious states, enterprising states. It also hosts the financial capital of the country. Let's try and go across and introduce the rest of our panel and talk to them at length. We have Dr. Nila Ranjan, the head CSR of Vodafone, with us. Dr. Mrityunjay Chaupe, Global Vice President, Environment and Sustainability and Green Cell UPL, is with us. Atul Murlidhar, Senior Manager of the Climate Group, is with us. Durgesh Gupta, founder and Green Yatra and legal environment activist, is also with us today. So, hello and welcome, and thank you very much. Atul Murlidhar is the head of business actions at the Climate Group India. Uh, we'll also be speaking through the course of this entire conversation. Aloka Majumdar, Head of Corporate Sustainability, HSBC, should be joining us. Ms. Valsa Nair Singh and also Mr. Rajay Mehta, Chairman, RERA Maharashtra, will also be joining us in this conversation. But first up, let me start with Ashish. ABN Bev as a company itself has now taken a $19 billion, sorry, $1.9 billion loan, if I remember the number correctly, which is also around sustainability. So you've changed your debt portfolio also is purely driven by sustainability. So the more green you are as a company, the lesser is your interest. So from there itself, the corporate philosophy flows through.
Yeah, so our purpose as a company is to bring people together for a better world, and as part of our climate action goals, just to reinforce our climate action goals is to be 100% renewable energy company. So all our manufacturing should happen from all the energy it draws should happen from a renewable energy source. Also, we're looking to draw down on our CO2 emissions by 25% on a basis. So that's our primary goal. And really, what does that mean? If you're looking at 100% of renewable energy coming through, it's sort of like taking 400 soccer fields and laying them out with solar panels to generate that kind of energy. So 600 terawatt hours is the technical number that you'll sort of transition that through. That's 400 soccer fields, 400 football fields for the world. It's about 50 football fields for India. It will be about 4 football fields for India and about 1 for Maharashtra. So that's our goal in bringing this renewable energy, 100% renewable energy focus to our operations here. I'd also like to just add on that in our journey to this goal of 100% renewable energy, in Mexico, we're already there. So all the Corona beer made in the world previously, I mean, now it's made across in different places, including India, is made with 100% renewable energy. It's similar in North America, where all our breweries are 100% already powered on renewable energy. And in Western Europe, it's the same case. So globally, we've made a lot of progress in this direction.
It's not easy, but the point is that we have to march on, and as companies, as entrepreneurs, as people who are working for these corporate entities which are also driving growth, it's not an easy ask. So let's ask one by one, our guests, how is it that they're going about this and doing this, and how has Maharashtra done so far? I'll ask Atul Murlidhar where Maharashtra stands in terms of deliveries. But first, let me ask Dr. Nilay Ranjan. Vodafone is a huge group. The current challenges are immense. Telecom industry itself has its own challenges, but there are also questions on are you green enough? What is your contribution to sustainability? So tell us about some of the work that Vodafone itself has done.
Thank you for calling for this meeting. It's very important, as you rightly said, that telecom is a completely retail business, and every nook and corner there is a tower. Tower requires a power consumption. And earlier, 20 years, 10 years back, when the whole revolution of telecom started, completely dependent on the diesel, which is the most polluter. Gradually, we shift that. And as a Vodafone Idea Limited, after the merger, we have Vodafone Idea Limited, and head sustainability and CSR both at the company. So as a company, we have taken a policy that we have reduced the use of diesel. So zero diesel, we are moving towards that. And around 5,500 sites is without diesel. So we are going for a more renewable energy. And especially in the Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, we have other alternative source of energy, that is solar, and that is wind. So what we did that most of the areas where we have power purchase agreement, we asked that power purchase agreement that we will only buy from your source. The source of energy, source of electricity should be the either solar or wind. So that we have did that. In terms of in Maharashtra, we have 0.6 megawatts wind power purchase agreement, and 2.06 megawatts in for solar. That's way we are moving towards making more greener and reducing the carbon emission. And that's the in next 5 years we'll gradually decreasing it because it's a cost effective also. And at the same time, not only the power purchase, we also say that all the equipment, because it's a high consumption. So earlier equipment which is manufactured from telecom sector are mostly consuming more power. So we have now purchased all the equipment which has a low power consumption, and that's our priority. So for all the equipment, that is the completely mandate in the commercial agreement that will purchase only equipment which has a lower power. And we also in the office space also, we are reducing the power consumptions so that in-house power consumption will reduce. Outside the work site or the power tower company, we reduce and we purchase from the more renewable energy. And that's why we're moving towards that. Not only but the business also, the CSR also, we are talking that all the green plantations, activity, waste management, those areas should be also covered. And that's why in our warehouses, we are talking about more lesser wastage, how the electronic waste can be recycled. So those activity also is a big way it's going in the company.
True. There are many questions which come to mind when we talk about telecom and the mobile phone industry itself. Even with radiation, sound waves, setting up of these towers, and also with chips. What are we going to do with the SIM cards which you're manufacturing, phones? There are a lot of levels at which sustainability, growth, etc., is going to be spoken about. But I'll come to that in a bit, Dr. Nilay. But let me take this question forward with Dr. Mrityunjay Chaubey, Global Vice President of Environment and Sustainability and Green Cell at UPL. What have you been able to do at UPL, and what are the goals that you have set for yourself? And something that which you've done differently, which has actually paid dividends, because one of the aspects which many companies have to also take care of is profitability. You have to do something which is environment friendly, but you also have to ensure that it doesn't affect the bottom line.
Right. So I think all of the first, what our experience at UPL is that sustainability is for the profitability of business. So we are driving sustainability at UPL, and we able to see that sustainability stand for the profitability, and sustainability stand for the smarter innovation. Now coming to the point of renewable energy, at UPL, when Paris Agreement on climate change came in 2016, in the same year, we have announced that we will decrease our carbon footprint 30% by 2020. And in 2021, if you see our achievement, then nearly 27% carbon emission reduction we have achieved throughout our UPL group. So that was a very good things which we came out target from the top to bottom, and finally we implemented inside our operation and we have achieved it. And many more things we have done in last 5 years to bring down our carbon footprint. And some of the important initiatives were promoting renewable energy sources. Also, we have done a lot of green power purchase agreement, and we have brought a lot of innovative technology to reduce the energy consumption and efficient energy use inside our plant. And we have created a special green cell where we are developing the sustainable technology exclusive in a customized way for our operation, such that we can reduce the energy and subsequently carbon footprint get reduced. Another important things for industry, what we feel and we are getting benefit is the biomass. When we use the biomass boiler, then we able to decrease a lot of carbon emissions. And also green power purchase agreement has also helped us. So I think solar thermal is another area where we are doing a lot of things, because in industry hot water required, and through solar thermal we get a very good benefit, and the cost effective way we are able to get the hot water and reducing our carbon footprint inside our operation. So I think these are the initiatives. Again, in 2020, we have taken another target for 2025, and further from 2019-20 baseline, we have committed that we will reduce 25% carbon emission in coming 5 years by 2025. And we are also making our plan for the carbon neutrality maybe by 2050, but that is the long-term goal where we are working. We are working to set our science-based target. But in short, we have already reduced 27% our carbon footprint, and coming 5 years, we are committed to reduce further 25% carbon emission, and a lot of energy share we are increasing. Today, if you see, two of our largest operating plant, they are using nearly 17% power from the renewable sources.
Let me take this forward with Durgesh. Not just an environmental activist, but also somebody who understands and studies the problem ground up. This reorientation, how difficult or easy is it? We talk about green cities, we talk about green planning, Durgesh, but are we actually orienting ourselves in such a way that we build green and we think green?
Playing an important role, not only from their CSR fund, but voluntary. Now these days we see that this support towards clean and affordable energy, and many corporates are embracing green policy and sustainable practice. Also, they are pledging to go carbon negative or at least carbon neutral. And we help them in achieving the sustainable. Also provide solution. So we are helping them in multiple ways, including plantation. And with support of the corporate, we planted around 2.5 lakhs tree in the financial year 2020-21. I'll just give you a small example. Like with Sony Music, we created the largest Miyawaki of Mumbai and MMR region of 40,000 trees. With DCB Bank, we have done 75,000 tree plantation. 42,000 is completed and other are in progress. With HCL Foundation, we have done 50,000 trees. With Indian Oil, VPCL, Mumbai Aviation Fuel Limited, we did 6,500 trees. With Allergen Pharmaceutical, we did 6,000 almost. With Cosmos Foundation, we did 5,000 tree livelihood in Aurangabad. With Canon India, we planted almost 25,000 trees. For every machine they sell, we plant one tree for them. With Ferring Pharmaceutical, we created in Jogeshwari, we created one of the good Miyawaki plantation of 6,000 trees. So yes, we are like working towards sustainable, and we help the corporate to achieve at least to some extent to help them in achieving the carbon neutral or at least carbon negative goal for them.
No, let me ask you this: what trees are
Yeah.
being planted?
So
When you
all
say
our
you're
natives,
planting them, and
yeah,
what trees are being planted, and how many of these trees are actually, when you say you plant 40,000, how many of
yeah,
them continue to grow and eventually become, sources of oxygen and sources of trying to
yes,
hold the soil? Because after 40,000, if only 4,000 remain, then the objective is
no,
lost. And also the
correct,
nature of the
correct,
tree. Are you
correct.
planting teak, oak, mahogany,
So I'll come to that. So we started the plantation for Sony Music of 40,000 trees. Officially is 40,000, but we have planted around 43,000. So what we do is we keep a buffer 5 to 10% of considering the mortality. But this is one of our project which has achieved 99% success. So if I say I planted 40,000, you will find 40,000 trees. What this Navi Mumbai, the area comes in Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation. Mr. Abhijit Bangar is the municipal commissioner who himself visited last 2 weeks back and observed the tree growth. In three months time, the saplings has achieved the height of on an average 6 to 8 feet. We planted around 2 to 3 feet 3 months back. So he was very surprised to see the growth. And if I tell you, we only plant native trees. We don't plant non-native. Gulmohar, Ashoka, all eucalyptus, or nothing, no non-native. You will not find a single bird nesting on this non-native tree. So we have 100%. What we do is we have a scientific team who visit the forest, local forest, and observe and create the database. What are trees of the natives? So natives lands trees are only planted. For example, if I do the Miyawaki plantation or I create a forest in North India, I won't plant the native of this local area, but I'll plant the local native trees of that area. So strata wise, geographical wise, demographic wise, the native trees also differ, but we have the major native trees which are common. I don't plant really none of the non-natives. We have one scientifically way these are planted: tree, shrubs, canopy, and sub trees in a layer method. So that, and I will be very happy if at any time our team can visit our site and observe. They look wonderful. So if I tell you, we are only planting native, no non-native tree.
No, that is important. That is very significant, not only about what you're planting, but where you're planting and at what ratio, because that is one of the key aspects. People claim the numbers, but then where are we doing and is it effective? That's important. Aloka Majumdar is with us, but I'm going to bring in Atul first, and then I'll go across to Aloka ji. Atul Mudaliar is part of the climate group. Tell us a little more about this RE100 India policy. There are one of the interesting things that has piqued my imagination is the fact that banks are now saying, or finance is now sustainability linked, which is something which I started when I started speaking to Ashish right at the top. Is that companies are now saying that the more we increase our green footprint, they will reduce the interest rates. But what is RE100, where you're actually saying that you're working towards corporates becoming 100% green, or sourcing or functioning on renewable power in the near future?
Well, thanks first of all, Anand, Networking and ABNB for convening this conversation. I think it's a very important conversation to mainstream the dialogue on climate change, climate action, as well as sustainability. So thank you for that, first of all. I represent the Climate Group, which is a not-for-profit organization. We work towards driving climate action, and we want to do that fast so that we have a world of um, net zero carbon emissions by 2050. RE100 India policy are specific recommendations made by a set of RE100 companies. RE100 companies, like you said, are companies who have committed to source only 100% renewable energy by 2050. Over 70 RE100 companies have operations in India today. As part of this, the companies are making a plea to policymakers and regulators, asking them to support easier access to renewable energy. In a very recent landmark judgment and in a big relief to a lot of clean energy proponents, the Maharashtra Regulatory Commission of Electricity is now allowing green tariffs, meaning that customers, be it a residential customer or be it a industrial customer, could demand renewable electricity directly from the primary service provider at a premium cost. So what we are doing as part of this cohort of ambitious companies who are demanding 100% renewable energy, we are working with the governments to unlock many such viable renewable energy instruments for companies. This is a great examples of healthy policy making between government and the private sector.
But how is Maharashtra done? Maharashtra did very well till 2019, but thereafter, you've been tracking them. I have the numbers in terms of where they did very well under the Niti Aayog till 2019. That's the latest. But the last 1.5, 2 years, have they continued to stay on despite the pandemic, or has that upset the cart a little bit? How have they been doing?
Well, I think the pandemic has clearly, put brakes on the industry across, different industry segments, and so the renewable energy sector is clearly not an outlier there. But in terms of Maharashtra, it's a top performing state, Anand, like you said, as per the India's SDG index.
Yes.
But the biggest contributing factor among many others has been its formidable work for providing affordable and clean energy to all while serving the second most populous state in the country. In fact, to your question of what Maharashtra has done, Maharashtra has been a leader in renewable energy. It accounts for 10% of the share of total installed renewable energy capacity in the country. And I think broadly, Maharashtra has been the leader in many ways. In fact, it is been setting the bar high by putting in place a great protection for high value ecological assets. And we've heard the recent judgments by the government where it has notified RA forests and mangrove covers as reserve forests. So clearly is setting the ball straight. But like many other states in the country, a lot of work needs to happen on climate action, which is linked to the 13th goal on SDGs. And like you said, this needs to be done fast to reduce carbon emissions by 50% by 2030 and become net zero by 2050. A state like Maharashtra, which is substantial in manufacturing and has got a great footprint, will require to be even more efficient in the way in which it uses its energy. Specifically, Maharashtra and has been progressive to cut down transport-related emissions and tackle air pollution. Maharashtra has revised its EV policy, or is in the process of revising its EV policy, which is the electric vehicle policy, and is incentivizing the purchase of electric vehicles both at a personal as well as at a commercial use. In fact, it has gone one step ahead and is aiming to have around 10% of all new vehicle registrations coming from battery operated electric vehicles by 2025. I feel Maharashtra is well equipped to lead the climate action, and with all the financial and human resources it has it's on its side.
Well, that's good. And let's take this conversation forward. Let me ask Ashish. Aloka Majumdar is also there. Aloka, hi. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh,
My
great, great.
apologies. I think
No,
I
not
had
at
a
all.
bit of
Not
a
at all.
technical problem.
Not at all. But as long as we are all aligned in the cause for sustainability, I think it all works. It's all good. So let me ask
Sure.
you, what have you done? What has HSBC been able to do in terms of sustainability globally? I know there have been a lot of steps that have been taken, but with respect and regard to India and specifically Maharashtra.
Sure. So, Anand, I'll cover two things. One is, of course, what we have done globally, which has a huge significance for India as well. So, the way we look at sustainability is rather in a comprehensive manner, to look at it from the business. So it's a mix of our commercial activities, our operations, and as well as working with the non-profits. So there are three legs to it, and of course engaging our employees in all along these three verticals. Now, we had a pretty big sustainability agenda, and we made some very ambitious announcements last year, which you may have seen. We want to become the first net zero financial institution, aligning our portfolio of financing emissions to the Paris Agreement goal to achieve net zero by 2050. That's a very, very tough target that we've set for ourselves. And the other thing that we want to do is, of course, the transition, accelerating our support to our customers. That's going to be key for us in their transition to providing dedicated financing solutions and advice for their unique transition journeys. That's something that we aim to do. Our ambition is to provide anywhere between 750 billion to US 1 trillion of financing and investment for this purpose over the next 10 years. So this is something that we have said we'll do it globally. India is of course going to play a very, very important role in this, in the entire in the sustainability journey, because I think India is also in a place where even the earlier panelists mentioned about it, that I think we are going very fast. So therefore, we do have an advantage of making the right investments to align and to achieve the SDG goals in a much faster manner, or the sustainability goals in a much faster manner. So, but of course, investment is going to be very key, and HSBC extremely committed in making that investment in that transition. In terms of our work, there is also another part of work that we work with development agencies, and that's for working on certain solutions with grants to ensure that we also bring about solutions which can be then replicated and implemented at scale. So particularly, we are going to focus on energy transition in the coming days, and we are working with some very, very large development agencies for large scale program across states to ensure that we have these pilots work so that these can become replicable and scalable to achieve the targets that we have set for ourselves, even at various levels.
I know
So I'll stop, Anand, and take the next question.
No, absolutely. So the thing is, it is a tough ask, and because I'll tell you what, because most companies have spread and become so huge across the world, and then now you're going back to reinvent or perhaps realign yourself through a green philosophy. So that is going to take a lot of time. But are you, Ashish, and let me start this with you, that in your future expansions, are green goals or sustainability goals going to be the bedrock? And also, how difficult or easy is it going to be now for you to realign your existing infrastructure and your existing business model itself towards a sustainable one?
Okay, let me take a few minutes to answer this in make 3 points specifically. The first one is it's a journey. And we're very far ahead in the journey. So, I said we want to be 100% renewable energy by 2025. We are already 60% renewable energy across the world. In India itself, through power purchase agreements, in Telangana we have 70% renewable energy. In Maharashtra and Karnataka we are 17 to 25% renewable energy purchases. But that's just one part of it. So the breweries will get 100% renewable energy source, so to speak, quite quickly. We've seen that in the US, where it's already 100%. Mexico, where they make all the Corona in the world, or did make all the Corona in the world before, is 100%. So we're well along that way. The second point I want to make is that actually our move forward is a reduction of is a way towards green. And that is in line with the profitability, growth, and all our corporate agenda, so to speak. A good example of that is the localization of our global brands. So most recently, we've localized Corona and Hoegaarden to be brewed in India. Earlier, it was all brewed, manufactured, and then transported across from Belgium and Mexico. Now, Corona is made in Maharashtra itself, and therefore all of India's needs and abroad to neighboring countries will be sourced out of India, and that's a big change towards reaching our climate goals as well. Finally, the third thing is, as we look at costs, as we look at different areas that impact us, our cost lines, our profitability, moving towards electric has been a big change and a big driver of our future sustainability, our drive towards green, and our corporate agenda. So all our forklifts are now powered by electric. Are electric. They used to be CNG, but now they're electric. Now that may sound small, but effectively in all our breweries we ship out between 30,000 to 70,000 cases of beer a day. And when you do something like that, these forklifts have a big carbon footprint. So you're significantly reducing this carbon footprint by making these changes while moving towards the future. So it's not as if we're moving backwards and having to change things. It's all a journey forwards, and it's at quite a good pace.
Yes, it is, and I think you reoriented your packaging also in such a way that it's sustainable. There is less plastic, more glass, and also
Absolutely.
different dynamics that have come through.
Absolutely,
But
Anand. Let me take a
yeah, go ahead, please.
let me take a second to explain that, Anand. Thank you for bringing that up. You may have noticed that our shrink wrap across our cans has been removed. Our aluminium is more recyclable than before. So we have we were at 70% already. We are trying to go towards 80-90% recyclable aluminium. In India, our glass bottles are trying to be used more and more. We try to improve our return rates. We take a lot of initiatives towards that. And the more we are able to use our glass bottles, the better it is for profitability, the better it is for the environment, and for the consumer. So it
Yeah.
all works together in unison, so to speak. Anand, one more thing that I'd like to add is about the chillers that we deploy into the market. You'll notice that whenever you go into a liquor store or go out for a beer run, that there's a chiller out there that stacks that stacks various brands. There are tens of thousands of chillers out there in the market. Now within AB InBev, all our new deployments, and we periodically replace our chillers, are with specific criteria. So they have lower power consumption, they have a lower carbon footprint because the greenhouse gas emissions are lower, and they have light adjusters, so to speak, that light dimmers, and they increase the lighting at various points of time to make sure the power consumption is good. So even at this level, we are taking these actions. Earlier, procurement would just go and buy the cheapest chiller available that met criteria. Now we are specifically looking at this as well. And so commercially, it just makes so much more sense for us to move forward in this area of sustainability and our climate action goals.
Also joining us here on the Sustainability Dialogues 100 Plus with the spotlight on the state of Maharashtra is the Principal Secretary, Excise, Tourism and Culture, Ms. Valsa Nair Singh. Valsa ji, namaste. Thank you very, very much for speaking to us here. And it'll be great to listen to you and your thoughts on the challenge before the state of Maharashtra and how Maharashtra is actually championing sustainability initiatives with clean and affordable energy. Let's start with that itself. How do you view the state's efforts and policies in sustainable development and the roadmap to achieve United Nations SDGs?
Thank you. It's a very, very valid question because I think development nowadays is all about sustainability. In the government of Maharashtra has taken this as a priority sector for development. In fact, you look at any department, be it urban infrastructure, be it environment, be it excise, be it tourism, be it road transport, and across the gamut of sectors, we find that sustainability is one of the core factors which every department tries to fulfill. I strongly believe that sustainability is not something which just somebody who is working in the Department of Environment has to stress upon. Sustainability will work only when across the board all departments accept the fact that sustainability is something for priority for each one of us. So across the board, when you realize it, only then it works. So in Maharashtra, that way, it has been a very, very progressive government and very proactive bureaucracy, I would say, has contributed a lot to the sustainable development goals. I have worked in the sector of environment and now I look after tourism and excise. So I am as committed to sustainable development as when I was in environment department as I am now in different departments too. Same, like I said, across the board, you find that that's happening here.
You're also working on sustainable tourism policy and, of course, promoting agro-tourism. Please tell us a little more about these policies and programs.
So I would talk about agro-tourism policy. So we have launched the agro-tourism policy about a few months ago. So they have a lot of agro-tourism units in the state, but this policy sort of tries to bring them all into a formal network. We made an institutional network for this and also incentivize the entrepreneurs who have moved to agro-tourism policy. So here you are assuring the farmer of an assured income other than his traditional income from farming. So it's an alternate source of income, and it also has gives an opportunity to the tourist in the city. It gives you a good experiential tourism. So this we've already had about more than 1,000 such units have sprung up in the state, and we have started. And I would say the success rate, the response is much beyond that what we have envisaged. The kind of response we are getting from farmers, and lots of new entrepreneurs are coming into it. So it's, I would say, one of the major flagship policies of the government is agrotourism. So here we have not only put farming, it could be horticulture, it could be fisheries, it could be any such activity.
We've seen the impact of Cyclone Taute. So, how are we going to reinforce the coastal zones? I have to ask you this. And how do we plan to develop these areas which are vulnerable?
See, in the coastal zone, even the coastal regulation zone, the CRZ rules are the ones which are the primary ones to follow. So you need to have the high tide line has been specified. From the high tide line, there is a 200 meters line, which is a no development zone. You can't have anything. And then there is if it's a urban area, it's a 500 meters. So you have to leave that line. And in certain areas, there are some activity for tourism which are permitted, which is something which we are really trying to look at, tap it, is something called the beach shacks. So Maharashtra has recently enacted the new policy called the beach shack policy. So here we are going to bring in a regulated form, a nice cafeteria, it could be changing room, a clock room, or it could be some water equipment like a jet skis. So what we have now, it's that all these have just mushroomed in a very irregular fashion. So now under this new beach shack policy, which should start as soon as the new coastal zone map is approved. So what we have identified the places where this could be set up. We have finalized the type plans. We are really aesthetic looking one, and absolutely temporary, because you can't have them in the monsoon. They will be removed by every year by April, when just before the monsoon. They'll come back in September. So absolutely environment friendly, aesthetic looking, beautiful designs have been finalized. The locations have been identified, and we will be auctioning those to the entrepreneurs and giving a priority to local employment from the same villages where the beach shack is.
Well, Saji, one aspect is tourism. The other aspect is the excise department. So, what is the excise department doing, or what is it that it can do to adopt sustainable practices?
The manufacturers, like we have some of the biggest groups of foreign liquor, the Indian-made foreign liquor here, the beer, wine. 80% of the wine in the country is produced here. Even in beer, we have AB and Bev. We have the big groups here. So most of them are practicing clean technologies here. So per se, the department does not take any measures, but what we need is we only encourage the switch over to the more green usage of technology in the production of liquor. We have also incentivized grain-based production of spirits in the state. It's highly incentivized too. So otherwise, I think excise, we also now looking at something called there are a lot of homegrown brands which many countries and states are encouraging. We are also looking at something here where you have you're promoting the local farmer. You in a better, cleaner technology, come with newer, I would say, indigenous products. So that is something which I think in a month or so we would be able to bring to the public domain. Otherwise, excise is, I think, the biggest revenue earner for the state now in this pandemic. I mean, we have actually kept the government going because of the excise revenues.
Yeah, and if these glass bottles make into households, then it also serves as recall value. So there is a branding rub-off also, which happens. But that's on a lighter note. But let me ask Nileji. Nileji, even the telecom industry, the business that you are in, that you're championing, from the SIM card till everything, the towers, at all levels, to the shop interface. There is a lot of energy footprint that comes through, and there are a lot of ways where sustainability can come in. So, are all these also being taken into consideration? Have you really set yourself tough goals as a company?
Yeah, absolutely right. See, last 10 years, or not 10 years, 5, 6, 7 years, This is transformation in the telecom sector. Because due to technology, now the SIM card, we have a digital SIM card, we have a process of Aadhaar-based SIM card where you can do digitally. So all the processes where we have lots of paper wastage earlier, paper SIM cards, those kind of things, plastic SIM card, those kind of things are reducing. Technologically, we are improving and the lesser burden on the wastage, and we are moving towards more of the carbon footprint. Second thing about tower also earlier 20 years, most of the tower and our sites are dependent on the diesel. So all the companies now are focusing on revising the power purchase agreement and also the new equipment, because after the 4G, all the sectors have all the tower have to be replaced with new equipments, and all the new equipments have a lesser power consumptions, and that is easy to do that. And some of the power consumption also have equipment have solar generated. A lot of technology advancement happened because 2G is a different, 4G is a different. So every advancement of 1 degree, there is change in the equipment, and the equipment has a life. A lot of change happened. Climate zero net is a journey. It cannot be happen one day, because the way we are doing it 20 years back, and if that tomorrow I can just completely shift, it cannot be happen. But we're sensitized that we're targeting that 30%, 20% side should be no diesel, 50% side should be the renewable energy and the wind energy, solar should be more. Gradually, are moving toward that area. And two, because earlier this problem was supply constraint, but gradually now there is more people who are supplying power through solar or the wind energy. There's also momentum coming in India. If you see that Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu are far ahead in terms of providing a renewable energy in Andhra Pradesh, but still like UP and Bihar have a lesser in terms of the providing renewable energy, but still solar is coming a big way. So it's both demand and supply, because if I wanted to change 20 years back, I don't have the supply. How can I change that? Thing is changing, and I must give credit to the technology and the advancement in terms of way of doing business. And everybody is sincere about it. We have to lesser effect on the carbon footprint have to reduce because it's affecting the climate. At the same time, like the corona, 1 year, Maharashtra, all the people are working from the home, so lesser consumption in the office space, electricity. But it's directly will going to be reduced that. So those are things, something which is man-made, something which is God-made, but thing is happening in right directions.
True. I have to ask you this, since ABN Bev is not only our partner but also is part of this panel. So, what are the kind of expectations from breweries in the state? And are there any subsidies, any SOPs which are there for companies that incorporate SDGs?
I wish we had, but we don't have it now. See, COVID is a time when we are states' finances are a little stretched, and incentives are not at this moment possible. But I'm happy to say that all the corporates who are into Maharashtra have themselves adapted cleaner technology. It could be because of environmental concerns, and also because of the fact that operational costs are much more lower when you move on to cleaner technology and more sustainable goals. So that way, all the big breweries who have come into the state have themselves practiced and are partnering with the government in this move. So I'm really proud to have them as our partners and associates for sustainable development in the state.
Now, from an investment perspective, from the SDG investor map, what are the opportunities for corporates?
See, like I said, tourism I already spoke, and in industrial investment also, Maharashtra is one of the highest FDI in the countries in Maharashtra. So cleaner technology and sustainable development is also practiced in the entire industrial investment sector by the Department of Industry. So MIDC, the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation, which is the nodal agency for bringing in industrial investment, is also focusing a lot on getting more cleaner technologies. In fact, they have a concessional rate if you have cleaner technology. They have higher incentive. It's a cluster-based technology where you have common facilities, so that each unit does not have its own facility. So these common facilities ensure that the pollution potential of is reduced, and that effluent treatment is done in a common plant, and the wastage of the resources are minimized. So MIDC does lots of financial incentives to the cluster development and also concessional rate, as I said. We also have the Maharashtra Airport Development Company, which is getting aviation-related infrastructure in the Nagpur-Mihan area, and also we have the Special Economic Zone (SEZ) in Nagpur, where also the stress is on only getting those units which have the least pollution potential.
Well, Saji, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We also have the chairman of RERA in Maharashtra, Ajay Mehta ji. Ajay Mehta has also been instrumental and pivotal in doing a lot of good work for the city of Mumbai too. But Ajay ji, my first question to you is, how is the state progressing towards achieving UN Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, especially in climate action?
So in climate action, we've been fairly ahead of the other states. The only problem has been that Maharashtra, as it is positioned today, has certain challenges which other states wouldn't have. For example, we have a long coastline, and then along the coastline, you have one of the biggest cities of the country, that's Mumbai. And Mumbai has its own problems. As climate change takes place, Mumbai would have a different series of problems than anybody else would have. For example, flooding. Even if 1% of Mumbai's area becomes prone to flooding because of climate change, the issues can be very, very different. Similarly, if you see the Maharashtra's geography and topography, we almost 60% of Maharashtra is drought prone, whereas 7%, just about 7% odd is flood prone. Now, and things are made worse in a drought prone place like Maharashtra is that you have basaltic rock, which makes it very difficult for water to percolate down, and then you have a groundwater resource which is not good. So in a drought year, you hardly have anything to fall back upon. And the rivers, most of the rivers in Maharashtra are not perennial rivers. So our challenges are very different. Now to deal with this, one of the biggest things that we've been doing has been soil and water conservation that we've been doing for quite some time, and that's yielded some very good results in terms of storing water locally, conserving the soil, and then also doing plantation around that place in the hills and ridges. This has really helped. So as far as climate change is concerned, we are looking at 2-3 things together. One is we are looking at soil conservation in a big way, water conservation, and then also flood control wherever we have this issue of flood, especially with respect to coastal areas.
What do you think that the challenges that present themselves for a state like Maharashtra, especially when we talk about climate change?
One, like I said, the biggest challenge that we have is one of the topography that we find ourselves in. It's something which is given by nature. We can hardly do anything about it. And also the geography and the location, where quite a large portion of Maharashtra is drought prone. That is one major issue that we face. Second challenge that we face with the climate change is urbanization. Urbanization with all its problems becomes very, very prone to climate change and the effects that come because of climate change. And urbanization and a very high urban population tends to sort of, they tend to get exposed to climate change, and they have those adverse implications as you find climate change seeping in. So one of the biggest challenges, I would say, is our geography and topography where we find ourselves, and secondly, the urbanization that Maharashtra has seen. While that's an advantage in terms of economic growth, but when it comes to climate change, your resilience is much, much lower.
How are you encouraging sustainable practices and, of course, environment-friendly practices in real estate?
In real estate, see, real estate, in my last avatar as Municipal Commissioner Mumbai, I had the opportunity of drafting the development control and development control regulations, which are valid till 2034. So in that specifically, we looked at 2-3 items which are very important for Mumbai. One, rainwater harvesting was made compulsory. So you had to have rainwater harvesting if you were building a structure beyond a certain limit. So that was one very big change that we made. Second change that we made was that in the open spaces that you leave around a building, you had to leave a certain percentage as open space. You couldn't just cover everything up. And in that percentage which you left as an open space, a compulsory statutory portion had to be left without concreting. So it was pure simple green so that water could seep in. That had two benefits. One, it would help increase the groundwater table. And secondly, it would also reduce flooding in Mumbai, because one of the reasons that you find for flooding in Mumbai has been concretization which has taken place over the years. Today you have hardly any green areas left, which become which is like a sponge which absorbs the rain when it falls. So everything then tends to flow off and get into the drains which do not have the capacity to sort of carry that kind of water. So these were the 4-5 things that we had looked at to ensure that we become more and more resilient to climate change, as far as real estate is concerned. But beyond that, there are a lot of issues and things that as a government we are doing to see that we become resilient to climate change.
One of the aspects is internally as a company, Aloka, what HSBC would do, but also as a bank, are you going to encourage sustainability-driven financing? Many companies are doing this, and I keep saying this because I've just read through February, ABN Bev has moved onto a platform where it is linked. In India, many other companies are now doing sustainability-driven financing. So are you going to encourage that?
Yes, absolutely, Anand. Absolutely. So Anand, I just want, after hearing, I'll just add one more thing. I think, you were mentioning that how important or how much time it's going to take. I think it's become an imperative, like from all of us, it's now become an imperative from various purposes. Of course, you have the environmental concerns. At the same time, even cost. For example, today when we are talking about energy, there was a time when power purchase agreements, because of the tenure, the long-term tenure, there used to be an issue in terms of financing. These have now become accepted norms in the sector and being heavily financed by the financial institutions. So the fact is, I think we're moving to a situation where financing of sustainability is going to be your regular BAU financing. It's not going to be your, a special thing or anything. Currently, of course, there has to be a focus. Like I mentioned, that we've made some big announcements to ensure transition. I think the way we are looking at it, Anand, is that we're looking at 3 themes. We are looking at carbon, we are looking at natural resources and collaboration. And in this collaboration, I think is the one that you're talking about, where how we learn to influence each other. And financing is going to play a very, very big role in this entire space of influencing. And the entire financial sector is also going to play a very, very big role in this. And I think so, for example, even if you take the other companies, for all the sustainability driven activities that's happening, everything is going to require investment. So I think it's going to get integrated into business as usual financing in very, very soon. Currently, we're at a state there are, particularly when we're talking about ESG, there is some amount of incentivizing which is happening because it's kind of at the, perhaps it's just kind of taking off or in the, it's in a situation where some people would require incentivized finance. But I think slowly it's getting, or I won't use the word slowly, actually quite consistently it's getting integrated into the BAU business of financial institutions.
Ajayji, one of the things everybody is now talking about, and it's good that it's come into the conscious frame, is about the carbon footprint, carbon emissions, and also working towards carbon neutrality. What is the kind of framework that is required?
See, first and foremost, while the debate regarding carbon emissions is there and it's a very sort of an intense debate, first of all, we must realize that we are still a developing economy. There's still a long road to cover before we reach anywhere near European and American standards, whether it is power consumption or consumption of fuel or any other resource. Well, I don't say that doesn't mean that you start sort of consuming power absolutely recklessly or consuming energy recklessly. But the whole issue is that there is a basic development that needs to be done to reach where you are reaching, where you need to reach as far as development is concerned. And to reach that, a certain amount of carbon footprint is going to be there and we cannot sort of get away from it. But on the counterpoint, there are certain practices that we follow in our country that also need to be encouraged and we need to take it. And very simple things I'll tell you. In fact, I always say that the poor in this country are much more greener in their outlook than the rich. For example, a poor man would sort of put his clothes out to dry in the open. It's a very simple thing. But in any luxurious high-end flat, the society prevents you from putting your clothes out to dry because it doesn't look good. So you need to use a dryer. Look at the kind of energy you lose or you use to dry your clothes. It's a very simple, basic example about how you can become much more greener and much more this thing, just by simple changes in practices and outlooks. So to reduce carbon footprint, I think, one, let us understand that certain amount of increase would be there because development has to take place. we need to bring our people up to a certain level of economic development, but at the same time also we need to sort of conserve some of our old practices, change some of the practices that we have got into as individuals. Everything cannot be done by the government or through the laws or some changes in huge systems. Certain things will have to be done by us as individuals to ensure that the carbon footprint comes down, and I suppose that would be the way forward.
What do you think is the role of corporates, Ajayji, in achieving sustainability or sustainable growth?
See, corporates, there are two, three ways. One is there are different corporates which can help in different ways. One is like where the corporates are manufacturing something, something which you are doing. You're manufacturing a washing machine, you're manufacturing an air conditioner or a car or any other power intensive equipment. The amount of research that's going in towards reducing energy consumption in this needs to be stepped up. That's the first thing. That's your job. That's your bread and butter, to sell air conditioners or maybe refrigerators or whatever. Can we not put in more money into research so that the energy consumption of this equipment goes down? That's one way of going about it. The second way is in your way of doing work, and that's something which COVID has now taught us. Suddenly we find that work from home is a possibility. Till yesterday, nobody even thought. It was an idea that people revolted against. How can you work from home? You must go to office. But today, a lot of people are working from home. Can we not now make this something which is there and sustained, and we do it even when the COVID is over, and we do it in a way that sort of helps everybody, and we carry this forward? Work from home. Look at the amount of energy you save. Look at the carbon footprint that you reduce. The third method of doing this is the way, the kind of practices that we put in place. A lot of practices are put in place by the way the corporates also advertise and think. So if you sort of create a level of sensitivity in the method of advertising, now, for example, I won't name corporates, there are a lot of corporates who sort of advertise about the kind of packaging that they have. Packaging uses a lot of energy. Let's realize that. How you advertise your product, what kind of the way of life that you advertise, the way of life that you encourage is something that helps. And lastly, which is on everybody's mind, is through the CSR activities. Through CSR activities, there's a huge need to increase the green cover, to conserve mangroves, to ensure that rivers are cleaned up, to ensure that green spaces are maintained. So that's another issue where the corporates can come in through the CSR activities.
And as far as investments are concerned, from the SDG investor map, what are the opportunities?
There are 2-3 areas which I think will be very key investment areas for corporates to come into, especially in Maharashtra, which is which is so highly urbanized. First thing that comes to mind is going to be wastewater treatment. Sewage treatment is a big opportunity coming up in the future. Today, we've almost managed to dirty up every river. When I joined service in Maharashtra 36 years back, and we went on our tours to the villages, you came across rivers that were absolutely clean. You could actually just bend down and drink that water. Or little streams in the villages which had absolutely clean and clear water. But today, where you go out, I think it's a very rare sight to find a river that's clean or a stream that you can simply pick up a bit of water in your glass and drink it. It's almost something which is not seen. And there is a crying and urgent need for wastewater treatment. And as they call it, the STPs, the sewage treatment plants, that's going to be a big corporate, going forward, a big corporate investment area where technologies, human resource, and the way the engineering skills would come into use. That's one big thing. Second is going to be garbage, waste, solid waste. Solid waste today, world over, and also in India, we are realizing that solid waste is not solid waste, it's solid, but it can be reused, recycled. And that is a big opportunity that is waiting to happen. How do you sort of do the biosolid waste? How do you handle medical waste? How are you going to handle construction debris? That's a big area that's waiting to happen, and all that can be reused. In fact, construction debris reuse is a very huge opportunity, because that can lead, as a byproduct, when you do the construction and demolition waste recycling, as a byproduct, you get bricks, sand, which is which you cannot mine anymore. You can mine, but there are huge restrictions, and is also very, very detrimental to the natural settings to mine sand, or to mine soil to make bricks. Whereas you can use C&D waste to do that, and that's a big opportunity coming on as we close down and clamp down on mining, on removing soil for the manufacture of bricks. This opportunity is the other opportunity that is coming up. So these are two areas which I thought is going to come up in a very big way in terms of investment opportunities.
Ajay Mehta ji, thank you very, very much. Wonderful having this conversation with you. Thank you very much. It's been an engaging conversation and fantastic. We'll take this dialogue forward. It just sometimes time is not enough. But the fact is, the more we talk, I think the more time will be spent on it and the more we'll implement. To all our panelists, it's been fantastic. Thank you very, very much for making the time and engaging with us on this Sustainability 100 Plus dialogue. Thank you.